Manhood shines best when the world is scarier than the men who are protecting you from the world. A woman doesn't want to be the man in the relationship while you play the role of the supplicating woman who's hoping that you get validated.
Hi, and welcome to or back to my channel where I offer my thoughts and opinions about whatever catches my attention. I'm Kit, and today we'll be looking at Chris Williamson's video, 13 Semi-Controversial Truths About Men and Women, thumbnail, The Man Problem, with Adam Lane Smith. And I know when a title includes the word controversial, we're in for a good time. So, we're all familiar with Chris Williamson, though I have to say it wasn't until this video that I realized Chris is sporting the broccoli cut. And I am so curious as to why. Does he think it looks good? Is he trying to look younger? Is he trying to attract younger women? Anyway, we're all familiar with Chris, but who is Adam Lane Smith? Well, per his website, Adam is a recognized global expert in attachment theory, and he's an author, speaker, and media personality, which doesn't speak to qualifications on being an expert in anything, but his About page notes, formerly a licensed family and marriage therapist, Adam Lane Smith, MA Psych. And I'm so curious. Why formerly licensed? Why no mention of what school he got that MA from? But anyway, like any good media personality, Adam has some courses to sell us. Decode Your Attachment Style, exclusive offer of $91. Attachment Bootcamp for $197. How to Love an Avoidant Man for $197. How to Build a Secure Marriage, $847. And finally, Secure Parenting Fundamentals, $847. I'm sharing the cheapest essential options. They also have premium packages that go into the thousands. Personally, I would save my money, but please do let me know in the comments if you've worked with Adam Smith. Great name, by the way, very Googleable, and how it went. Anyway, I'm ready for some controversy, so let's get into it.
Young men, if you choose the wrong woman, you are sacrificing your goals for a life spent managing her problems that she refuses to fix. The right woman will augment your life goals. She'll be a jet engine strapped to your back that pushes you ahead even faster.
So we start off fine, normal even. Yes, if you in general, sex does not matter, choose the wrong person, they will not make your life better. Granted, that's kind of bland, not really eye-catching, but it is sound advice. And then,
I've been teaching men this lately. I got a new course out about marriage. You are supposed to be the CEO in a relationship, life, family that you're building. You need to pick a woman who's an appropriate COO, operations officer, who's going to work with you, a co-executive. You don't need a woman that's lagging behind, that's dragging at you, that you can't get to the office to work. And you also don't want to have her take the lead over you because she'll resent you. You need to work together like co-executives. And when you do, there is nothing on this planet that will drive you faster to success than that good woman.
There are people, again, sex does not matter, who do not have a grand vision for their life. They want the basics covered, they don't want to stress about some scheme. And then there are those who don't have a grand vision, but they would love to support yours. All that is fine. My question is, why are we gendering this as men always having the grand vision and women always being placed in the supporting role? And why are we topping this off with a statement that if you let her take the lead, if you don't keep her a supporting character, she'll resent you? I can see he thinks he's doing women a kindness. You don't have to plan, dream, do anything too risky, but you're still so important, your man could not do this without you. And if that's how that couple operates, and I will say I hate this corporatizing of relationships. CEO, COO, does capitalism really have to ooze its way into our intimate relationships too? Is nothing sacred? Anyway, if that's how that couple operates, okay. But to generalize it to everyone, and the woman will resent you, that is just putting unnecessary pressure on people. On men to step it up and have some sort of 500-year plan, and on women to swallow their own ambitions so they can support a man who might not even have any ambitions. Anyway, Adam rattled something off about how a man needs to be looking for a securely attached woman, sounds reasonable, and why can it never just be normal?
The man does have responsibility. The masculine, our job is to provide 4 levels of safety. If you want to get into that for women, we need to provide safety at 4 levels, but the woman needs to be able to receive safety. And in our world right now, we're not training women to receive safety at all. They stay feeling unsafe, even if the man is adequately providing those levels of safety for her.
If you're anything like me, you heard that and were wondering, what the fuck? But fortunately, Chris asked the question that's on our minds. What does that even mean? Well, he doesn't ask it quite that way, but
A man provides safety in 4 degrees, okay? 1 is physical safety. Yes, safety from our ancestors, saber-toothed tigers, rival tribes, even safety from yourself. Be physically safe.
I don't know about you all, but I haven't seen any saber-toothed tigers around lately, and say that 5 times fast, I dare you. Anyway, in all seriousness, not being an unsafe person isn't providing safety, it's just being a safe person, which we all should be.
2 is resource safety, okay? Ancestors, hunter-gatherers, that means food, meat. Today, it could mean finances. She might be contributing, but if a problem rises, he's going to spearhead that and tackle it first.
Why? You know, it's kind of funny. I get so many comments about how feminists talk about patriarchy, but no such thing exists, but they always assume a man is the boss, a man makes more money, a man is more capable. They are so close to patriarchy, they can't even see it. Sometimes purposefully.
Number 3 is emotional safety. She knows that if she shares a problem with him, like an operations officer should, that he's going to receive it graciously, listen respectfully, ask questions, and then solve the problem. She doesn't have to tiptoe on eggshells. He's not going to blow up. So he's emotionally disciplined. Most men with attachment issues, they fail this 3rd degree right here because they're afraid of commitment. They're afraid of getting scammed. They're afraid of whatever. So they never really lean into a relationship and they always leave her hanging.
I agree that a good partner will listen and ask questions when an issue, problem, whatever is brought to their attention. But why are they fixing it? Is it their problem? Did they cause it? Do they possess the magic key, the only one in all the land, that fixes it?
And the 4th is bonding safety. He has to be biochemically bonded to her and be displaying the right signs of being biochemically bonded through oxytocin and vasopressin. This is why women are tracking for romance, affection, warmth, emotional connection to know that you're not going to leave her in the middle of the desert. She needs to know that you're with her.
Does anyone know how I'm supposed to track for all that? Because I don't think I know how. Should I have a scorecard set up somewhere? Should I sniff my gentleman collar whenever I see him? Should I show him this video? I kind of want to see his reaction. But there is a risk that he sees Chris's perm and wants to get one too, and I'm not sure I can risk that. I could create a spreadsheet. I do love spreadsheets. Actually, you know what? Adam probably sells a course.
Those are the 4 levels of safety we must provide.
So what I took away from that is that men are to protect women from the monsters as well as from the man himself, and also take care of all financial issues and any problems that may arise, in addition to somehow proving that he's bonded to her, which I find delightfully vague. So why and what do women contribute to the scheme? What does Adam think women do when they're single? Curl up in the corner and wish for a big strong man to balance her checkbook and scare the woolly mammoths away?
Now, a lot of women can't trust any of those 4 levels of safety because we've got 4 generations of women now taught don't trust men. They fail you, they let you down, they check out, they hurt you.
Oh, honey, no one taught me that. I saw it. I've been told I use interesting too much, so it's so fascinating to me that folks like Adam assume women are just told things and they believe it with nothing to back it up. But he does assign women to a secondary role in life, so maybe he thinks women just don't have anything going on upstairs.
So that's part of the problem. Men need to be providing, but women need to be able to receive.
I was hoping he would go on to clarify what receiving these safety measures would look like, but no such luck. I have a theory though. If you are actually a safe person, actually safe, not pretending for whatever reason, people will feel safe around you and will let you in. That does not, however, mean they'll want to take a back seat in the car of life. Follow me for more inspirational quotes.
And we are seeing that among Gen Z, 65% of them now are insecurely attached, leaving only about 35% securely attached.
Okay, so I know guests can't dictate to hosts what to link in their videos, but Adam Lane Smith here has trotted this line out several times on his blog and never bothers to link a study. Quite possibly because there isn't one. The only thing I could find was this, quote, in a groundbreaking attachment style study conducted by personalityquizzes.com, analyzing data from over 23,000 participants, researchers uncovered a startling trend in generational attachment patterns. The data reveals that Gen Z, born between 1987 and 2012, exhibits significantly higher rates of anxious attachment compared to any other age group, with teenagers showing especially concerning statistics. 65% anxious attachment, 25% secure, and 10% avoidant attachment patterns. End quote. I don't know if this is the study Adam is using, but if it is, he should take heart. Secure attachment rises as one gets older, which honestly sounds about right. The teenage years are, well, I'm still glad they're over and it's been a couple decades.
And the rate of personality disorders, part of that has risen from 10% to about 20%. So we're definitely going in the wrong direction. Men and women are not connecting because they can't form a human bond to each other. Instead, they're forming an emotion-focused bond of how do I feel instead of what are we achieving? What are we building? What are we growing? How do we operate as co-executives in a co-created life together? It's how do I feel right now at this moment, and what do I need to do to feel better in 5 seconds? That's a lot of the relationships we're seeing.
I don't know, bro. Have you considered not introducing capitalism to your intimate relationships might help with anxiety and connection? Seriously. No, you're not going to feel lovey-dovey every day. There will be issues. There will be times you have to stay and work things out, and not everything will be easy. But framing it as a corporation actually doesn't make it better.
It seems like that's a lot more short-term.
It is. They're focused on the short-term survival. It's a sympathetic nervous system activation that's really causing the issue, and it's a chronic trauma from infancy.
My brother and Hera, you are talking about Gen Z, who is between 13 and 28 years old. Most of them are still in the figuring things out life stage. Anyway, Adam rambles on about the prefrontal cortex and how oxytocin deprivation is killing men, which I side-eye because, to be honest, I don't trust him, and I really think anyone would benefit more from going to an actual therapist than in listening to him. Or I have men's groups linked below. Anyway, I think I have discovered what women are to do in Adam's world.
But when he goes home at night, all he does is drink alcohol and wish that he had somebody there to take care of him and be with him.
So there you have it. Men protect and fix all the problems, and women take care of and be with men. So TLDR, women do the cooking and cleaning and sex. Now, loneliness is a terrible thing, but women were not created to cook, clean, and have sex. And if you are a man that thinks that sounds great, actually, and why do women complain about this, please feel free to find a, per Adam, high-performing man or woman and get into that arrangement. But not wanting to be restricted to the home is not a problem with women, and having someone fix all your problems for you, well, for one, that hinders your growth as a person. For two, it makes you reliant on them. And yes, it is important for adults to know how to fix their own problems. And for three, that puts you in a vulnerable position, which is why those men who whinge about how women have it so easy never try to take that easy path themselves, because they would be submitting to someone else, and they don't want to do that. Anyway, if anyone asks what you bring to the table, oxytocin. Moving on.
I'm as fucking capitalistic and ruthless as you can find.
Good to know. Chris goes on to say that capitalism does create some perverse incentives that cause people to prioritize things that are instrumental but not ultimate goods. Unfortunately, I do not think Chris will become a comrade anytime soon. They go on to talk about the very wealthy men who are dying young because of a lack of oxytocin, which I'm going to need a source for, and then they get weird, or, well, weirder again.
Because the male and female systems, our nervous systems, are actually meant to integrate symbiotically. The female nervous system needs safety to maintain a high levels of fertility, bonding, peace, generation of all the nutrients a child will need, care. And then as she receives oxytocin, it becomes contagious. She's compelled to give affection and kindness to those around her. That's that feminine mode. On the TikTok parlance is being in my feminine. But for her to activate that, a man has to be providing those 4 levels of safety, and he has to integrate with her. Then the male goes out into stress mode, hunts, fights, kills, gets resources, comes back. And as he does, he lets go of stress mode and integrates with her calm nervous system. As he does, she integrates with him, and she pulls him into his parasympathetic nervous system, that rest and digest mode. Guys like us, we have to practice martial arts in a cave for 20 years to learn how to get there on our own. Or we could just let a woman who loves us help us pull into that. And as we do, if our oxytocin receptors open, she floods us with it.
I'm going to need a source for everything he just said. And also, so gay men, lesbians, do they not need to symbiotically submerge or whatever? Are asexual, aromantic people doomed to a miserable life because they're not doing whatever Adam imagines this to be? How does Chris not ask questions about this?
Oxytocin goes up, GABA goes up, serotonin goes up, testosterone goes up, human growth hormone goes up. Everything massively improves. And this is why all across the earth, all the cultures say feminine is healing. It's because she's literally healing your body through your biochemical makeup, but only when you can integrate successfully. Only when you can be receptive to her. She has to be receptive to you, you're receptive to her. We build this together. So
I'm going to need really good sources for all those claims. But this is another thing Adam thinks women do. They take care of men, they be with men, which I would love for him to clarify what that means because I think I know, but I would love to be wrong. And they also literally heal men with their bodies. TLDR, women are here to serve men. Adam Lane Smith is no better than the Tradcons or the Manosphere Bros. Of course, Chris is no better. Here's how he describes masculinity.
There's a lot of elements of male behavior that are pretty scary, especially to women. And this is behavior from boys and behavior from men as well. Aggression, dominance, desire for conquer, mastery, drive, all of these things.
All of these things. How delightfully specific. But really, can people not see how no one wants to be around someone who's aggressive and domineering? Having ambition, wanting to succeed, having goals and plans, those are fine and normal things. I trust the mastery Chris speaks of is a skill, not a person, but aggression and dominance, no one is down for that.
And I wonder whether one of the solutions that was put forward, I certainly know that this is in a lot of therapy speak, in a lot of sort of online conversation, is if only you acted less like a man and acted more like a woman, all of your problems would be fixed.
I don't know how sincere Chris is about wanting to help people, but this is not helpful. It's not helpful in that, though Chris apparently believes otherwise, be like a woman is very vague, and it's not helpful that, at least when I was growing up, being compared to a girl and or a woman was just about the most humiliating thing you could say to a boy or man. You run like a girl, you throw like a girl, you hit like a girl, are you going to cry like a girl? Not to mention the names given to boys who exhibited this so-called feminine behavior. What does Chris think that does to boys' perceptions of what it means to be a man, what it means to be a woman? It starts young, and if not corrected, that boy will grow up into a man who tries to distance himself from anything feminine. So, no, be like a woman is not helpful, especially to those who actually want to change and grow. Chris also has a very flimsy idea of what being a woman means.
Your main problem, male in front of me, is that you're being masculine. You're being too if only you were opening up about your emotions more, if only you were more sensitive, if only you were less concerned with dominance and competition and prestige and status and improvement and conquer and stuff like that, you'd be fine. All of your problems would go away.
Women, famously, don't have problems. But yes, woman is apparently emotion. And I would like to know, why are we doing this? Why are we talking about men domineering and aggressive and ambitious and women emotional and communicative?
It's not going to land particularly well when you basically say your main issue is your nature. You're like your inbuilt, innate source code is a problem. And if you can get rid of that and behave more like the group that has had a really phenomenal run, I mean, fuck, if you were going to invest into a penny stock, the entire female sex in sort of the 1960s, 1970s was like buying Bitcoin at 5 cents. Fucking phenomenal investment, right? Socioeconomically crushing it by pretty much every single metric.
Citation needed, and why is the focus on male and female? Encouraging good traits and not assigning them to a sex would be much more effective and, in my opinion, healthier. No one wants to be steamrolled by someone who's domineering and aggressive. No one wants to have endless conversations about emotions. Compassion, creativity, responsibility, strength, just to name a few, those are good for all people to cultivate, regardless of sex. And we do everyone a disfavor by saying, no, this is for women, or no, this is for men.
The research is clear now in America that the women are not actually doing very well. 1/4 of American women is now on some sort of psych med. They're reporting massive depression rates. They're reporting increasingly crushing anxiety every single day. The loneliness rates for women has actually gone up to 2/3 of all women report incredibly overwhelming anxiety and loneliness every single day. So they are crushing it, interestingly, like households. Women own more households than men do. But what's fascinating, and I've had my ear to the ground on this, I'm sure you have had too, TikTok, Instagram, you're seeing this flooding movement of women now starting to become resentful of having to be masculine.
You can tell someone is a quack when they treat social media posts like a research paper. Also, what is this being masculine? Is a woman buying a house masculine?
And they're actually begging for a resurgence of masculinity. They don't quite know what that means, and they kind of want it on their terms, but a lot of them are moving toward who is supposed to be doing this? Why am I doing this, right?
He goes on to mention books like Marry Him and Be Submissive, which is an actual book published in 2011, and The Rise of Women Like Margarita Nazarenko. Not sure why he mentioned her, but per Google, she's a life coach, and per her website, being unbothered is the new feminine superpower. She's also selling a book, The New Rules, The Ultimate Guide to Being Her. Should I read it? I did read The Rules a decade ago. I was too young for the first version, but the updated version had a texting timetable, so how could I resist? And as you can see, I'm not wearing gold hoops and my hair is still curly, so clearly those rules didn't stick. I do already have Candace Owens and Mary Harrington to get through though, and I'm kind of in a holding pattern as I wait to see if I stay or if I go, but I really, really want to read that book. I'm so curious. Also, given that Adam is mentioning her, is this one of those, I want to empower women to surrender into their feminine so a man can run the show and they never have to use their brains? Anyway, those two examples are all Adam can apparently think of about how a lot of women are trying to be feminine. Trying? I thought it was innate. And calling for men to be masculine. Adam apparently does not realize that telling women to be submissive, even other women saying that, is nothing new. And then he pops out with this.
Manhood shines best when the world is scarier than the men who are protecting you from the world.
I would like to remind everyone that the most dangerous place for a woman is her own home. Not because of strangers breaking in, but because of her own family or her own male partner.
So we need the world to be scary in a number of ways, and it is. It's artificially not scary right now. It's just a weird bubble we've crafted around women to make them feel safe.
Women do not feel safe, though, because we aren't.
But when that bubble is starting to erode and it's going to pop, I think, very soon, we need to have a crop of men ready, not to take one for the team, but to do what men are supposed to do so we can be fulfilled. And I believe by doing so that women will also step in and be fulfilled.
So, to be clear, we need the bubble to pop so the world becomes scary again so men can step up and protect women and thus feel fulfilled. And because they're being so-called protected, women will also feel fulfilled. This man is an idiot, and no one should take advice from him for free, let alone pay for it.
I don't think all of them. I think many people are going to go through a horrible meat grinder, male and female. But I do believe that there is a positive outcome on the other side of this for those that want to learn how to actually form proper human connections between male and female.
So this man thinks that people dying, people suffering will be worth it in the end because those that make it through will learn how to form proper human connections between male and female.
When they built Rome, they got together all the outcast men who were thriving on their own alone, but pulled in the exiles, the unwanted, avoidantly attached men. They built a society. Then they formed brotherhood and agreement and identity. And only then were they ready to integrate and bring women into their group because they said, we need women in our group for society, but also to build something meaningful. Otherwise, it's a bunch of dudes just like sitting here and squatting in buildings. So let's bring the feminine in now that we've created safety and structure.
I am so baffled by how anyone can hear that brazenly ahistorical nonsense and think legit, but anyway, citations needed, and what does Adam think women were doing while they were waiting for these avoidantly attached men to build safety? Does he think they were just chilling in a hut somewhere? And that is the issue with this content. Yes, please do talk about men, encourage men, but then they bring women into it in these bizarre ways, like women are supporting characters in a man's life who have no purpose for existence, nothing to contribute, except in how she can help a man better himself. And that is just not true. And it also otherizes and dehumanizes women. Women are people with inner lives and goals of their own. They don't sit around waiting to be chosen by a man to assist with his mission.
There's good reasons for men to not trust modern relationship structures. I get that, but not knowing how to correctly integrate with a woman and not thinking you're getting anything from a male-female bonding, that's a problem. So those men have not built themselves appropriately. Instead, they keep everyone at arm's length. And then women are just aiming at them because he's the most masculine man she's ever seen. They're seeking safety and stability from the masculine. It's just proof of what we're talking about here today. As much as women may say that they are feminists, they are seeking masculine stability. And the more that we can provide that for them, the healthier we're going to see them become on their side. And that's good for us. We will be thriving.
So, I am a woman and a feminist. The two, unfortunately, don't necessarily go together. I also mostly date men. And I do indeed want my partners to be stable. Not because they're masculine, but because we're all adults. And at that, women should also be stable, regardless of their relationship status, because we are adults. I hate the way he talks about women, but he's also doing men no favors. You cannot make someone else stable, and even if you appear to do so, if you are someone's rock, what happens if you crack? The tagline for Chris's podcast is, life is hard, this podcast will help, and just help what? Help people enter unhealthy relationships?
A woman doesn't want to be the man in the relationship while you play the role of the supplicating woman who's hoping that you get validated.
Yeah, women don't want to be supplicating either.
Women don't want a man who is less masculine than they are because it means she has to go into a non-optimized state. Women can temporarily enter a masculine state, but it shreds their fertility, destroys their brain, destroys their organs, destroys everything in their body, and they die much earlier. We're seeing a rise of cancer for women being in that group. Their stress levels are not meant to go out and stress and then come home and go out and stress and live in constant stress and take care of you. They build resentment.
What in the more ahistorical nonsense is this? What does he think women in the past did? Does he really think women in the, let's say 1700s were less stressed as they gave birth to 6 or more kids while milling their own flour and spinning their own wool to make their own clothes? Like, seriously? But okay, yes. If the woman has to step into the masculine, which apparently means go out and get a job, and the man still expects her to take care of him, yes, that will build resentment. That has nothing to do with masculine or feminine. Also, I'm going to need some sources for the idea that women stepping into their masculine shreds their fertility and causes cancer. Stress is no joke. But most jobs aren't that stressful. I wonder if he perhaps is thinking about other aspects of American life that cause stress, which he cannot say because I have no doubt that Adam is as much a devoted capitalist as Chris professed to be earlier in the episode.
It's very hard to respect a man who is begging everyone around him to help him feel safe instead of picking up his spear and going out into the wilderness and hunting, growing, building, and then providing safety for others.
Adam says this while wearing a suit with a tie, comfortably seated in a room that I would be willing to bet has both central air and heat.
A woman will take a masculine jerk over a nice guy every time.
Right there.
No, and stop trying to excuse the behavior of jerks.
If you understand what a woman wants, you can do it, and all of a sudden you have your pick of partners. For women, same thing. You understand what men actually want from you, and you provide it. Men are lining up to marry you at that point. It's dating gets simple when you understand the system.
No, and stop trying to act as though men and women are a monolith. There is no secret formula to get people to date you, and anyone who says otherwise is lying to you. And probably trying to sell you something. Anyway, I think we're just about done here, but
I think of the burning of the Library of Alexandria and how much knowledge was lost there. I think of the sack of Rome and how much knowledge was lost there. I think of all throughout history how knowledge is lost again and again and again. Tribes wiped out, elders killed before they could pass on information. I think there has always been a warrior class, and there's always been a sage class or a shaman class to pass on knowledge and make sure it's correctly passed on. I think you and I are in that second class. You and I are not warrior class going out and dominating and killing. We are the vehicles by which information is passed on to make sure it doesn't die. That's your job and my job. You gathering information to your podcast and outspersing it. Me having coaching clients come in and training them one-on-one and then sending them to their families so he's a better father, a better husband. And then that knowledge gets passed down for multiple generations so that future generations don't have that problem. Right now, we've got AI coming in. Maybe that will help us integrate this knowledge and make sure fewer knowledge pieces are lost. We need to protect our knowledge better. But men like you and I, that's why we exist. We shouldn't have to, but it's chaos. It's destruction. It's societal decay. It's whatever you want to call it. We need to exist for that reason, but it's not fair. Men and women shouldn't have to be relearning the basics of how to pair bond, the basics of how to get food to eat, the basics of how to even find or build a family. We shouldn't be bereft of our families. We shouldn't have been ripped away and orphans. We are all of us now orphans, Chris, and we shouldn't be endless waves of generations of orphans. We should be families and we should be integrated groups. I believe we will be again.
My first thought was, okay, pretentious, but maybe he really does care. But what I really want to know is everything, actually, but to start, how does he figure any of what he just said, and what does he think the cause is? He does not tell us. Instead, he tells men to hug each other and say something real, which I agree, and then he agrees with Chris that we are comforting men to death, and I have questions.
We are comforting men to death, and they don't want it, but it's all they think that they have. So all the porn, all the video games, everything. I'm not against video games and fun, but men are running away because they don't know how to escape from their pain. And when we don't show them how to build a life that's meaningful, right? You and I talked about this, I think it was 4 years ago, our first ever podcast together, right? If you give a man a purpose and the ability to reach it, he will crawl over broken glass with a smile, right?
So someone else is giving men their purpose then? I thought that was something men were supposed to come up with themselves. Is it really your purpose when it was given to you by someone else? Anyway, Chris has a theory he would like to share with Adam, and I have some thoughts on it.
Throughout history, if you've got a high number of unmatched men, especially young men, they tend to be poorly domesticated. You know this data, testosterone drops when you get into a relationship, it drops again when you have kids, risk-taking goes down, aggression goes down, etc., etc. Being an aggressive guy is not good for trying to raise a child.
Testosterone also drops with age.
And in that way, you could see women as domesticating men. You could maybe look at them in a roundabout way as like doing, at least hormonally, they kind of domesticate men.
Women do not domesticate men. Do not put that out there.
So there's a question to be asked, which is, if we're seeing some of the highest rates of sexlessness that we ever have in high population density areas, why is there not more antisocial behavior? Why are we not seeing more young male syndrome? For all that adolescence, that show on Netflix sort of tried to lay at the feet of rebuffed, unhappy, bitter males, boy in that show, the evidence just isn't there. And there's a couple of papers out, one of which is, where is all the incel violence at? And it's a great question. This isn't me calling for it.
So I did try to find the study Chris mentioned, but a search for where is all the incel violence at led me to this article about a study from Rutgers University. Study reveals how incels become violent extremists. Quote, the researchers are calling for closer tracking of incels by the FBI and legislation to combat the subculture as a growing domestic terrorist threat. Previous research by Fowler's team has shed light on the subculture and jargon of incels, who in recent years have been linked to sexual assaults and mass murders, such as the May 2023 shooting in Allen, Texas, that left 9 people dead, and the 2018 Toronto killings, in which a self-identified incel murdered 11 pedestrians by running them over with a van. End quote. I also found The Threat Landscape, Incel and Misogynist Violent Extremism from the McCain Institute, which lists some high-profile instances of incel-related violence and notes that incel-related violence has been rising and spreading beyond North America. I also found this from the University of Rhode Island. New research sheds light on incel community's connection to mass violence. Quote, for the longest time, there was this misunderstanding that this type of violence could be ascribed to socioeconomic standing or educational background. But when we look at the people who commit these very violent acts, it turns out that what they have in common is not that they are male, though 98% of them are male. It is actually that they are extremely misogynistic. Lindner explains the emergence of the incel movement as an interaction between 3 factors: an evolved male psychology that is very eager to obtain sexual access and may be more prone to using intimidation, coercion, or aggression to achieve that end, the dynamics of the modern sexual marketplace in which financial and sexual autonomy allows women to be more selective and, in some cases, remain single, and technology that amplifies the visibility of both patterns. End quote. I would like to know, how much incel-related violence would there have to be for Chris to consider it a problem? Anyway, for those wondering, Chris thinks men are being sedated by video games.
I would rather have useless men that aren't blowing everything up, but fuck me, that's a bad trade. If the choice is between useless and dangerous, that's not really a trade that I want to make. And the only reason that this works, the only reason that I can even make that value judgment, is that we're largely in a time of peace. Because as soon as something happened where you need to galvanize these men into being remotely useful in a partially kinetic way, you're fucked.
So I don't think spending your life playing video games is a good way to spend one's life. But I also don't think being sent off to war is a good way to spend one's life either, especially since we are not doing anything worthwhile with these wars. We are not freeing anyone, we are not defending anything. Wealthy men are sending less wealthy people to be horrifically injured or killed, and to horrifically injure or kill, so they can accumulate more wealth. Very few things are worth the cost of war, but especially not some rich jackass adding a few more zeros to their bank account. Chris bemoans the street interviews of people saying no, they wouldn't fight in a war because of their gluten intolerance or capitalism or whatever, and yes, the more people that realize war is just feeding capitalism's incessant need for growth, the better.
Pacifism like that, or sedation or neutering, only works if you neuter every single man on the entire planet, because we've seen that what happens in cultures when one man, with a group of men sedate and collapse, other men come in and the other women welcome them in and say, oh, good, finally men are here. And it just swarms in, and then you crush that population of men.
Citation fucking needed.
I think that we're in an artificial bubble of fake peace right now. I don't think that it's real peace at all. And I think it's about to pop. I think we're going to wake up fairly soon. I think we've got maybe a decade, maybe 2 maximum before things are unsustainable. And just the number of things that are getting ready to explode in our faces.
I would like for Adam to explain why he thinks the natural state of humans is war, because if that was true, we wouldn't exist the way we currently do, and there wouldn't be 8 billion of us. Constant war would have kept our population low and our tech advancements minimal.
There's a lot of things happening right now that men are going to be very, very needed. And I think that the ones who can get out of sedation need to, and the ones who can't are probably going to become casualties, unfortunately.
That's a thing to say. Hey, what if it was everyone's mission to promote peace on Earth? Crazy thought, I know. That's pretty much it. They go on to talk about marriage and love, and I really don't think Adam is as knowledgeable as he tries to pass himself off as. So, final thoughts? This is Chris Williamson, again, peddling patriarchy. I can kind of see how people could overlook it, as there is nothing about Adam Smith at first glance that indicates such views, but sneaky as he tries to be, it's right there. Man as CEO, woman as COO. He tries to dress it up in corporate speak, which please don't, but what do CEOs do? They're the head of the company, or in this case, family. They can take advice from their subordinates, such as a COO, but at the end of the day, their decision is law. Where have we heard that before? This is just another man leads, wife submits with capitalist wrapping, which we really didn't need. And that's it for this video. My socials and Patreon are linked below along with sources and resources. I would like to thank everyone for watching through to the end, and of course, I would like to give extra thanks to my patrons. Have a wonderful day. Please do not buy anything from an online coach, and I'll see you in the next one.